We begin this news hour in Israel, where the army's chief of staff has warned of consequences for Iran following its unprecedented attack on Saturday. Tehran fired hundreds of missiles and drones towards Israel, saying the attack was retaliation for Israel's strike on its consulate in Damascus 2 weeks ago. Israeli leaders say they're assessing their options. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has convened the Israeli war cabinet for the second consecutive day, and military officials say Israel will respond when it sees fit.
We are closely assessing the situation. We remain at our highest level of readiness. Iran will face the consequences for its actions. We will choose our response accordingly. The IDF remains ready to counter any threat from Iran and its terror proxies as we continue our mission to defend the State of Israel.
Let's go to our correspondent, Stefanie Dekker. She's joining us live from occupied East Jerusalem, and Israel's military chief of staff reiterating that Israeli position, Stefanie, that they will respond to Iran's attack. What else did he have to say?
Yes, and he also mentioned the international coalition, praising the international coalition that came together to counter Iran's attack on Israel. Of course, the Americans. He also mentioned the French. He also mentioned the Brits. And he also mentioned other allies in the region. You can read between the lines, but we also know Jordan was involved, and also reports of Saudi Arabia. He thanked them for coming together. But as you mentioned there, he also said that there will be a response. And this is in line also with what we've been hearing diplomatically from the leadership. We've had the war cabinet meeting for its second day. It's going to reconvene again on Tuesday. From what we understand, there is a consensus that there needs to be a response. But what that shape is going to take and when it's going to take remains very much part of a debate, also because of the increasing international pressure from the Americans as well for Israel not to escalate what is a very fissile and dangerous situation that can really result in a regional war.
And what, if anything, Stefanie, have we heard from Israeli officials about cooperation with the U.S. on this? Washington isn't saying anything about that, just saying that it simply wants to calm tensions in the region.
Yes, well, it was interesting. You had a State Department spokesperson briefing just a few hours ago where he was saying that the Americans remained very staunch in their message that Israel needs to de-escalate. At the same time, they stand steadfast with Israel and its defense of itself. And they were challenged by some of the journalists there, saying that what you're saying contradicts itself, because surely you should be putting more pressure on Israel not to respond. The reality is that there is absolute coordination when it comes to Israel and the Americans about what a response will be. Now, the Americans have made it very clear, Joe Biden telling Benjamin Netanyahu, you've already won. Basically, take the win, he said, because over 99%, according to them, of the missiles and rockets and drones that were launched at Israel were intercepted. This is seen as a win. But as we've been saying, the Israelis are saying that the scale of the attack needs some kind of a response. Now, if you do look at what happened, Iran gave days warnings. It gave warnings to Israel and its allies to ready for this attack. And now you're hearing that Israel is saying, well, according to the leaks from the cabinet meeting today, the war cabinet, saying that Netanyahu tasked the military with coming up with targets that could send a message, but could prevent any form of civilian casualties, again, not to have the situation escalate any further. So I think when you're asking about coordination with the Americans, 100%, that'll be very much active, and they will know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen.
Stefanie, thank you very much for that. Stefanie Dekker with the latest live in occupied East Jerusalem.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.